How you doing, Kev?
How you doing, Russ? Good seeing you, man.
Good. Yeah, great to see you.
We
Uh,
had a killer weekend at the theater, man. We showed 4:30 movie on Friday, and that was fun. But we showed Crazy House, this movie by
oh yeah, I
Stephen
saw it.
Flip. Oh my God. And Nick Frost came in from England.
Oh
It was
wow.
great, man. It was such a fun night. It was really cool to show something. Like normally there we show my stuff all the time.
Right.
It was nice, like, because that was part of the dream. Like, let's showcase other filmmakers who would never come to this part of the world. So dude came from Holland, Nick came from London, and we had like a packed house for him. It was fast. You know what the secret is? Free screening.
Well, that and it doesn't hurt having you there, so they know people will show up.
I know, but I'll be there all the time, and we can't necessarily sell tickets off that. Free is the right price.
uh, I appreciate you taking the time out. Like I told you privately, love this movie.
Thank you. You
Um,
were one of the first. Actually, yours was one of the first pieces of feedback that I got from outside of my world, from somebody who'd seen it. And I'll be honest with you, when you were like, "Oh, I like it," I was like, "Yeah, but Russ is always nice to me." So I didn't count it as like, "Oh, he's right." I was like, if honestly, I was like, Russ likes it, rest of the world's gonna fucking hate it. Good news, like you're not alone this time. Some people seem to like it, so thank you for being the first.
Absolutely. It's funny because I was talking about somebody with that the other day with that, this is your best reviewed movie since Chasing Amy, I think.
It's been a while. I mean, it's kind of nuts. But yeah, people seem to kind of go for it.
Hmm. And whenever I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, Kevin always like your tone lands with me. Like we're simpatico in a lot of ways.
Thank you.
Uh, so I have to ask you, kind of on that note, in terms of Kevin Smith fans, how deeply should people read into every tiny thing in these movies? Because, like, you know me, I go in, I look for the 120 Easter eggs in Reboot or whatever. Uh, this movie starts, and immediately I'm like, huh, is pork roll, egg, and cheese like a reference, or is it just a food that people eat?
Just a food that we eat, a very Jersey centric food. And it's, in Jersey, of course, and outside of Jersey, in the surrounding states, there's a ongoing constant argument about whether it's called pork roll or whether it's called Taylor ham. So when you start the movie with the decidedly like pork roll, egg, and cheese, you
Mhm.
are making a statement. Like, we are in Central Jersey, kids, because this is where we believe in God, movies, and pork roll, not Taylor ham. So the movie's full of that. For like in the
Mhm.
opening scene that you're talking about, when he's on the phone, one of the first things we see is a radio with the antenna up playing
Mhm.
Z100 and stuff. In front of it is a little sculpture of a dog that says "Love you." This is something I made for my grandma when she was little. You see the fridge. I've got my own papers from high school up on the fridge. You see the table next to the phone. There's a stack of National Lampoon and Mad Magazine, some Weebles. Everything's like a little bit of a roadmap to like, oh, if you add all this shit up, it becomes that guy who played Silent Bob once. So
Mhm.
it's full of Easter eggs. And normally the Easter eggs I put into movies are like, hey, kids, remember these other movies, better movies you used to like? This time I'm not doing that as much as like Easter eggs from my own life. And
Mhm.
people who know me and have grown up with me or raised me, see them. My mom, my brother, and sister, perhaps the only three people in the fucking world that would appreciate that on Brian David's porch there's a net hanging and it has like fake shells and fake crabs and lobsters. That was the only artistic expression I ever saw my father make. One day I came home from school and he'd hung this net on the porch and he was hanging these like sea crustaceans and fake lobsters and shit. And I was like, "What's this all about?" He's like, "I think it looks nice. No reason, no agenda, no, your mother told me to do it, or I have to mow the lawn,
Right.
or for a work assignment." He just one day woke up and he's like, "You know what? This is missing this." And so, as we went to shoot the porch, I asked Ratface, Robert Holtzman, Ratface, our production designer, he's like, "Hey man, we had this thing," and I described it, and he mimicked it perfectly as if he had a photo or something like that.
Mhm.
So, is that an Easter egg for everybody? Probably not. But as life goes on, I talk in a zillion podcasts, just like there's some emo Kev stuff from the podcast, from the Smodcast episodes, all throughout this movie. Other stuff, I think people like in a post interviews that have nothing to do with the movie, but like that's why that's in there. Oh, I
Mhm.
now see that tie to that. So it's nothing that like anybody needs to know in order to enjoy the movie, but if you follow my stuff beyond like the obvious, beyond the movies and whatnot, like if you were a listener of Smodcast for years, there, little shout outs to you. And honestly, they weren't done for that as much as when I was trying to mine the past, you know, it helps to have an authentic line into it. So anything I wrote at that time, I was able to be like, this is what I sounded like. Like I don't sound like I sound now. Hey kids, you could do anything you want in this world. That's the voice of age, wisdom, experience. I didn't have that voice then. So I was like, well, what did he sound like? And mercifully, I had those episodes of Smodcast where I was like, I don't know exactly what this motherfucker sounded like. But in those episodes of Smodcast, like that's what I love in the reviews. They're like, it's a boy on the cusp of growth, and before the world opens up, and he's only 16. And in the movie, he is. Those emo Kev recordings, though, I was 21, like 22. It was before, like right before I made Clerks, so I dialed my age down a little bit, but it still comes from an authentic place.
All right, we got to wrap, but like real quick, I wanted to say thank you so much for resharing my long rant, because I thought, oh, if Kevin's resharing it, it means I'm not totally crazy with this crazy thesis.
Not at all. I loved it. The piece about phase 3. It's this movie probably more than the last like 3 or 4. I engaged with the press, meaning I read reviews and shit like that, and good and bad, but like mostly good. And then I read think pieces and deep dives because now I've got like a long tail with a career. And yours was absolutely fucking enjoyable as a Kevin Smith fan, like not just Kevin Smith. I was like, this is a great read. I sent it to my wife. This is the highest compliment I could give anything because I never bother her with fucking Kevin Smith shit. She doesn't really care. But like most of the internet, she doesn't really care. But that piece I sent to her because I was like, come on, he nailed it. So excellent job.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great one.
You too. Good talking
I'll
to you.
see you soon.
I'll see you soon, man.